Rolando incident happened in June of 2018, and that's what really kicked off our involvement in the gun violence restraining orders. So ultimately on this particular incident, officers responded to a call of service for a neighbor dispute. But what had happened was the individual inside of his residence actually started a fire in the residence. And at which time, once the fire department came up and breached the door, the suspect opened fire with an AR-15 and struck two of our officers, Francisco Roman and Danny Byam.
It was a long firefight. I think it was between 10 and 15 minutes. A lot of rounds were fired off and it was a lot of chaos. Looking back at the end of the incident, it's obvious that a GVRO would have prevented that situation on that day because there was numerous red flags in place that everybody was aware of.
Every time I read a headline about a mass shooting in America, I always wonder if the signs were there. And if law enforcement had the ability to use a gun violence restraining order, could we have prevented that mass shooting from occurring?
The way San Diego approaches gun violence is really looking at a holistic way of obviously apprehension, prevention, but also looking at programs to try to remove firearms before they're used by those that should not have firearms. So those prohibited because of mental health issues, criminal behavior, and our gun violence restraining order is one of those processes that we use to try to take away guns before they're used to harm somebody.
The use of the gun violence restraining orders started with the San Diego City Attorney's Office bringing this to the San Diego Police Departments and showing us, saying, hey, this is a tool that we can utilize. Let's try to develop a program. That partnership was established to where officers will go out somewhere, they'll evaluate a scene or an incident, and they'll determine whether a GVRO it rises to the level where we want a GVRO.
We look at the investigation, we determine whether we have enough information we can bring to a court of law. And if we believe that somebody is a danger to themselves or to somebody else, we will get a gun violence restraining order. In the state of California, what that allows us to do is to remove a gun from an individual for up to 5 years so that they can address whatever it was that caused them to become irresponsible when it comes to guns. And what we have encountered is that people are going through traumatic times in their life. Maybe they are going through PTSD. But we want to make sure that our communities know what to look for and when it's appropriate to report something. In the past, we had to wait for tragedy to occur. Now we can save lives if the indicators are there.
We've had several incidents where we've had individuals where we've been involved in preventing what we believe are going to be mass casualties.
The San Diego Police Department was tipped off of this video where we at first did not know who the suspect was. We just had the video and the location. And that location was a hotel in downtown San Diego that overlooks not only Broadway, which is a very busy street, but also the federal building and the federal courthouse, which is right across the street. In the video, Mr. Himoki essentially played out a mass shooting scenario where he would act out not only the shooting out the window where he dry fired on citizens with the actual weapons he smuggled into the hotel, but he also would prepare for the law enforcement breach, which would inevitably come once the shooting started.
The GVRO was a tool that we were able to utilize to successfully de-escalate and to seize his weapons before anything could actually happen. A particular incident was at Rady Children's Hospital. They had an employee that worked there who worked in the IT department. He owned over a dozen firearms. He had over 15,000 rounds of ammunition at his residence, and he made threats that he wanted to kill his coworkers. They were showing a decline in his mental state. And additionally, he had maneuvered these backdoor channels to where he was actually utilizing his expertise in IT to create an access card to where it would prevent other people from accessing his route for escape.
I believe that filing a gun violence restraining order in that instance did save lives, because I think this individual was on the edge of doing something dangerous, and he was in the heat of emotionally being fired, being frustrated, having the guns, and then with that security access that he manipulated was potentially in the initial planning phases of coming back to commit a shooting, but also allowed time for a cooling off period to talk through what he needed, to get counseling, get help, go through the steps to make the situation safe.
I do believe GVRO save lives, and what that means to me is that's just one less victim that a San Diego police officer needs to respond to. That's one less family that's been traumatized. It's one less community that's been traumatized. So it really goes to our core values, it goes to our core mission, is that's protecting the citizens of this community, and one way is taking firearms away from those who should not have them.
We know that gun violence restraining orders have saved lives. We've intervened in over 500 crisis situations, and we have trained hundreds of law enforcement agencies and related agencies, including counties and nonprofit organizations.
We've gone to different departments, provided training on what our GVRO unit looks like, how the training is rolled out, and then provide all that material to those units. Again, it's making this place safer, not only the city of San Diego, but the whole state.
I think that the collective approach we've always had is just keeping the city of San Diego safe is not enough. We have a lot of cities that border us, and we want to make sure that they have the same tools that are available to the city of San Diego so that we can keep our entire region safe.